Good evening. I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Barrington Village Board Monday, November 10th at 7:30 in the evening. I would ask you all stand while Chief Daigle leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I would ask the clerk to call roll, please.
Trustee Lamar.
Here.
Trustee Shalin.
Here.
Trustee Wondrazek.
Here.
Trustee Duncan.
Here.
Trustee Prigi.
Here.
Trustee Clower.
Here.
President Moran.
Here. With the agenda before us, is there a motion to set the agenda as presented?
President Moran, I'd like to make a motion to table item number 5 on the agenda for tonight.
Fair enough. Can I get a second?
Second.
Questions, concerns? Hearing none, can I get a roll call, please?
Trustee Lamar.
Yes.
Trustee Shalin.
No.
Trustee Wondrazek.
Okay, this is just to table it. Can we have a discussion on this? Why we want to table it first?
Nobody discussed it.
We can, sure. We can back up and have a discussion on it.
Yeah, can we do that?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I guess, is there more information you're looking to get? Is
So,
that it?
yeah, so during our last meeting, I think Trustee Lohmeyer had asked Mr. Anderson for some additional information on, what other villages and municipalities are doing and just some backup information. And then in the meantime, I've also seen that there's been an appeal filed by the federal government of the Trust Act. So I'm not sure what our, adopting of an ordinance would do and how that, what that appeal might mean for our ordinance. There's just still a lot of questions that I have about this. So I was actually surprised to not see it on COW tonight and to see it on the board agenda because I thought we would have a little more discussion on it before bringing it straight to the board for a vote.
I guess, yeah, you could have brought it up in the cow and asked for us to discuss it. I guess that's kind of where I'm a little surprised. I guess, does anyone else have questions regarding this?
I think
maybe?
tabling ahead of discussion is a bit premature. We can reconsider tabling when
Yeah.
we get to that agenda item.
Okay. Well, I was still looking for more information that I had asked for during the last meeting. And, hearing that there is an appeal that this ordinance would be based upon, using that as, because this is a pending using the Safety Act. I just need to know what grounds that we have to set an ordinance. That's kind of where I'm trying to understand how all of this ties together.
Well, this wouldn't be on the basis of the Trust Act. It would be in compliance with the Trust Act. But the use of village property is still something that we control. We own the property that we're proposing to have a use restriction on, no different than we would for any other zoning or code. So I don't know that the Trust Act being appealed has any direct implication on our control over our property.
And I guess I'd look to our attorneys to understand how this all intersects.
Well, I think the fact that the Trust Act is being appealed is a significant fact. And I think there's mixed opinions about whether or not, about the effect of the ordinance. I mean, I understand why people would like it, but I understand that there's a lot of people who think it won't work. And you're always dealing with a supremacy clause. I mean, in other words, the federal government could take our property. As a village, they could take our property if they wanted to. That I'm not suggesting they would do that, but I mean, so at the end of the day, the federal government is driving the bus.
And Scott, I don't know if you've had a chance to do any additional research or have additional information based upon my request for more.
The only additional information I had that we were gonna cover as far as the agenda item was two communities since our last discussion had passed an ordinance. That was Skokie and Wheeling. Arlington Heights, I think that has it up for consideration this week. Other than that, it's just monitoring. There's discussions out there, there are forums, there's educational sessions on it. Everyone's kind of trying to work through the landscape right now. But as far as communities that have enacted, there's been two since the last time we discussed Monday.
But to the point, we have a motion to table in front of us rather than discussion point later. It's not part of the consent agenda.
Right.
So we can always motion to table during that point in the agenda, but tabling discussion before discussion has begun seems inordinate.
So do we go back to the agenda? Is
I
that
think
what-
I think it gives us an opportunity to get more information and to bring it forward at a time when we have more information.
Right, but Brian, are what you saying is that we shouldn't be discussing this now, we just talk about it after, when it comes up?
And then we
And that
can,
you should wait to table it till we actually
can
have
move-
that on the agenda?
yep, we can move to approve or table at that point in the agenda.
I guess I'd still prefer to table before we get all, until we have all the information that we need to
Right.
have a discussion. I'm feeling like it's premature for a discussion.
Right, because to me, I'm lacking information and
But we haven't gotten to that item on the agenda.
And
Right,
it
and that's
seems
the
as
reason
if
why
we're
I didn't-
attempting to discuss and table before we even get community input.
Right.
Well, I made a motion and Jason seconded it, so.
so.
And you voted,
I
I
voted.
voted, so
Was there any more discussion? Why don't we keep with that?
Or, yeah, are we gonna, do we want to discuss it now, or do you want to discuss it later? This is where, because I do think we can still discuss it. I have questions. I mean, I think the entire board has a right to have their questions answered. You may table it, but
Yeah,
that
this
doesn't
is,
stop our.
I mean, we can discuss it now, but I would like to have it tabled tonight.
I guess, what would the appeal to the Trust Act do to this ordinance?
Well, the Trust Act is the underpinning of the ordinance. In other words, our only, the intent of the ordinance is to comply, is a mechanism to comply with the Trust Act by preventing use of village property for immigration enforcement. So if it's if the Trust Act is invalidated, the rationale for the ordinance also goes away.
I guess I'm not seeing what information you're looking for.
I'm thinking, my question is, why coming up for a vote on something that we don't, that the land is continuing to shift? And I want to understand where things stand, and we're moving forward very rapidly with not all information settled. And so I'm asking, this would be normally something we would discuss in Cal. We did have one discussion, but there's times where we have additional discussions on issues before we bring it forward for a vote. Now, again, that was,
But you didn't bring this up in the cow. You just did it now to table it.
It wasn't on the COW.
It wasn't on the COW
It was asked to
agenda.
be in the board
But
meeting.
we
Well,
could
you can
add
add
it.
it.
Agenda.
Could
You
add
can add
it.
it.
Yeah, we could have added it.
Well, it could be tabled and you could add to the COW for next meeting as well. I mean, it was asked to be on the board meeting, which is why it's on the board.
So what is specifically the information you need that you don't have right now?
I'm hearing about this appeal. I want to understand, how does the appeal apply to the Safety Act? What are the pieces that are being discussed? I don't have enough information. I'm hearing about it now, today, and I need to understand, what does that do? Does that change anything, or is it still exactly the way it is right now? I don't know.
And I also think we were interested in seeing other municipalities' ordinances, to see the types of teeth that they had in their ordinances, to see what types of enforcement was in their ordinances. I know, Chief Daigle gave us some concerns, that he expressed concerns to us last week about enforcement and how that would all work and come together. So at this point, I'm asking to table it for tonight and put it on our next COW agenda and get some more information.
And my position would be that we leave it on the agenda, we discuss it in detail at item 5 on the agenda, and as needed, we can table it then, or we can move to approve that.
So-
You have a motion and a second. Let's go through the vote. If the vote says nay, then you take up the agenda.
Let's make sure, let's get
Yeah.
to the discussion, the final of the discussion part here. Does anybody have any more comments on this, or? Yes, ma'am?
I don't know yet. I think that there are a lot of people here today probably to comment on it, is public comment, so we take the public comment even if we table the,
Yeah, we would still hear public comment, even
Okay.
if we table it,
That's
and we would
next.
not be making a decision tonight.
okay. Yeah.
Okay, I would rather do the tabling, let's have our conversation, and then we table it later in this.
Is it
So then that would-
reasonable to request?
So then I would say no to tabling for now.
Yeah.
Okay,
then-
so I'll say
but
no
then-
to tabling it right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Is everybody,
Trustee Lamar,
is everybody done with
You
the
got him.
questions, concerns, and then we'll revote?
Okay.
Any more questions at this part of the meeting?
No.
No, okay, let's retabulate our votes and start from the beginning, please.
all right. Trustee Lamar,
Yes.
Trustee Sholin,
No.
Trustee Wondrazek,
No.
Trustee Duncan,
Yes.
Trustee Priggy,
No.
Trustee Clower,
No.
President Moran.
No.
The noes have it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Now it's the agenda.
We have the agenda before us. Is there a motion to set the agenda as present?
So moved.
Second.
Priggy, Sholin.
Need for discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Lamar,
Yes.
Trustee Sholin,
Yes.
Trustee Wondrazek,
Yes.
Trustee Duncan,
Yes.
Trustee Priggy,
Yes.
Trustee Clower.
Yes.
President Moran.
Yes. We have the agenda before us. First, persons to be heard from the floor. If anybody hasn't turned in their sheets, if you'd be so kind, but we have a number of people, kind of group them in discussion topics, so we'll kind of keep with one topic versus the other, so I apologize if I say your name wrong. Melissa Tavnoyi? Sorry? Oh, we go last then. We'll put you last.
Sorry.
This one just says Christina. Christina.
Yep.
Please, yes.
Christina, if you could say your full name.
Hi, my name's Christina Grana, a resident here of Barrington. Dear Village President Moran and trustees, my name is Christina Grana, like I just said, and we live on 128 North Hager for the last 8 years. Our daughter is a student at Prairie Middle School, and we are active in our school, Barrington Community Local Church, along with we own a business here in town. I would like to encourage you to vote against rezoning the residential properties on North Hager Avenue. Our home backs up to the high school, and we are 6 homes in from the corner home on Hager and Main Street. I am certain there are better options for the additional parking spots needed for the high school after school hours. When I voted to approve the most recent referendum, I was in full support of everything that was to come of it. What was not proposed or mentioned was that the additional extra parking that would be needed. This feels like a typical bringing the cart before the horse story. Myself, along with our residents of Walnut Grove, do not want our homes being taken down for a parking lot. We were made aware that the additional parking that is needed for the additional 120 seats that the new auditorium would provide, with 40 of these spots intended to be used from the 3 lots, and the additional 80 spots would be found in different parts of the school property. We were also made aware that this additional parking is only needed after school. Currently, our school has enough parking for the current faculty and students that are allowed to park at the high school. Encourage our school board and administration to find an alternative solution for the parking. Schools all over the state find different ways to accommodate the outside of school events. I would like for our school to utilize the 10 acres of buildable land that they currently have to build additional parking spaces. I also wanted to let you know we have about 20 residents from Walnut Grove here today supporting this. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Christina. Raymond Bolton?
Hi, yeah, I'm Raymond Bolton. I don't have prepared comments. I wasn't as coordinated as everyone else, but I got on the email list, signed the petition for the area. I'm 30 years old. I'm bought a house 3 years ago on Raymond Avenue. And yes, the reason I looked at the house is because it shared my name. It's at 113 Raymond Avenue. You might have seen it. It was a dull gray house. And so we've spruced it up a little bit. We're new to the area. We're a new family. I got married last year, despite forgetting my ring because I was cleaning some baby bottles before coming over here. But one of the things that really drew us to that house in the first place was the neighborhood, the Walnut Grove being close to the high school, walkable around town. And I really just want to keep it a space where I can be proud and to raise my son and start our family and keep it that way. So I thought I would come here and speak even though it's uncomfortable. Thank you.
Thanks, Raymond. Jeff Andrus?
My name is Jeff Andrus. I live at 131 North Hager. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. My wife Pam and I have lived on North Hager Avenue for over 40 years. We've raised our children here, and they went from Huff Street Elementary through Barrington High School and then off to college. Now our grandchildren are freshmen at BHS, and after having started in 220's early childhood program, they've moved on. Not to be left out, I've taught in the school district at Sunny Hill and Grove Avenue schools for 40 years. We on North Hager, Raymond, and Laverne have always felt as if we were part of the village of Barrington. Right now, however, we are feeling totally ignored and left out of giving input toward decisions that will affect our neighborhood, our home values, and our community. Between the school district and the village board, someone has really dropped the ball on communications, which is why we felt left out. Our neighborhood consists of lawyers, teachers, police officers, firefighters, restaurant owners, and many types of trades workers and business people. We call this place home and help to keep Barrington and bordering communities thriving. School expansion is important, but so are the people who live next door. Back in 1970, Joni Mitchell sang, "They paved paradise, put up a parking lot. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone?" Please consider every option before choosing to erase this vital part of Barrington and rezone our residential neighborhood. To many, this may be simply a location on a village or land survey map, but to us, it is still home. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Elizabeth Champers?
I'm just gonna step up and say I live at 151 North Hager. I'm a third generation Barrington resident. So I remember when the high school was its original little building. It's had parking problems since its inception, and we've been able to solve them without taking people's houses. The people who live up on the corner aren't gonna find someplace else in Barrington to live. The majority of them are renters and will not find space here. So not only are you taking tax dollars, real estate tax dollars from these houses, but you're also telling several people you don't want them here anymore because people need to park. Thank you.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Dawn Mass.
Dear Village President Moran and trustees, we respectfully request that the residential zoning designations for 502, 506, and 510 West Main Street, as well as 112 North Hager Avenue, be preserved, and that these properties not be rezoned to public land. We further ask that all residential properties within our neighborhood be considered off limits for rezoning and be treated in accordance with the village's comprehensive plan, which seeks to maintain the existing scale and character of each neighborhood. Just 10 weeks ago, residents of Walnut Grove learned of the school district's intent to purchase homes in our residential neighborhood. The August 19th Board of Education meeting recap states, Dr. Winkleman explained that the district saw a rare opportunity with these properties, which are adjacent to Barrington High School, to expand the high school's footprint and address concerns about a lack of parking. We want both the school district and the village to understand the impact of this language. First, this rare opportunity unfortunately describes something deeply disheartening in our neighborhood. We are talking about the concerning practice of an investor purchasing 4 residential properties, neglecting them to tear down level, and then watching as the district potentially capitalizes on this by getting a good price, this rare opportunity, and watching as the village potentially rewards, in effect, this practice by rezoning. Second, Dr. Winkleman talks about increasing the high school's footprint. I know this is a little far away. I'll send it in an email as well. But this is neighborhood 4 from the village's comprehensive plan. Neighborhood 4 consists of Barrington High School, the Park District, the Flint Creek Path, ComEd, and Public Works, and then us, this tiny rectangular shaped triangle, or rectangle. Sorry about that. And it is easy to see when you look at this that any increase in the high school's footprint in our direction would permanently change the scale and character of the place we live. And we don't want this to happen because this place is special to us. My husband and I chose to make our home here 5 years ago, planning to retire in a quiet neighborhood with a small town feel where we can walk to everything. And we found this, and we found neighbors that we call friends, and we've learned of our neighborhood's rich history. We learned that 100 years ago, when the Barrington downtown was developed, homes were moved to our neighborhood. In fact, so many homes were moved to that neighborhood prior to 1924, our neighborhood was actually called Trustic's neighborhood, after the famous Barrington builder, Frank Trustic. Trustic built the home that my husband and I live in 1925. It was the first modern electric home, and for 10 years, people traveled from miles around to see what such a home would look like. The house 2 houses down from ours was moved from the location of the Catlow. And on North Hager Avenue, you can find Sears homes built by Barrington High School shop students. So we have a lot to lose, whereas the school district does not. Because if they lose 40 or 100 or 140 parking spaces, they will find them somewhere else. But if we start to lose residential properties one by one, we will lose the scale and character of our neighborhood permanently. We recognize that we cannot prevent the high school or the district from pursuing property acquisitions, nor can we prevent our neighbors from wanting to sell properties. However, the village has the ability to protect the scale and character of our neighborhood by declining to rezone these properties. And we look forward to, we appreciate the 3 minutes, but we look forward to a discussion about this. Thanks.
Thank you. Elisa Clapson? Lisa?
Hello, my name's Alyssa Clapson. I live at 219, North Hager Avenue, sorry. So Walnut Grove is more than just a place to live for me. It's a community that myself and my family have proudly called home for almost 14 years. We're situated in the heart of Barrington, and our neighborhood has a unique character, and it's shaped by the families and the contributions of those families who value safety, privacy, and a residential living environment. Now this cherished character is under threat. The Barrington District 220 School Board has proposed a plan to dramatically alter the essence of our neighborhood. The plan involves spending well over $1.6 million to purchase and demolish residential homes and properties on Main and North Hager, to add a meager 40 parking spaces, add roughly $40,000 a space. That's shocking. This plan not only conflicts with Walnut Grove's identity, but violates the village's comprehensive plan. That is to protect the scale and character of our neighborhoods and minimize commercial encroachment. Rezoning these properties into a parking lot would significantly reduce our home values, infringe upon our privacy and our security, and permanently alter our character of the neighborhood. We can all agree that the school needs more parking, but there are much better alternatives to consider first here. The school owns over 11 acres immediately to the west across Hart Road. They also have an empty field in the southwest corner of Main and Hart that could have 200 parking spaces. So why not embark upon these already existing properties? 40 parking spaces is not going to fix the parking shortage. The community is only expanding thanks to the village's recent approval of the Claremont community, which is going to bring 88 more homes. This will increase the demands on parking. The current proposal to rezone these homes is both short-sighted and a frivolous usage of taxpayer dollars at the expense of current taxpayers and residents. I supported the 2024 referendum, but I never supported a rezoning and demolition of residential homes on my street in my subdivision. If I had known that that's what I voted for, I never would have. This approach to use budget surplus is underhanded and unneighborly. Walnut Grove, formerly Trustix subdivision, has proudly existed for 100 years and has neighbored Barrington High School for 76 of those years. I'm asking the village and the school board to honor our neighborhood and respect our place and value in this community the same way that we have for them. I, along with 150 other residents of District 220 who signed petitions, strongly oppose the rezoning initiative. I urge the village president and trustees to uphold its comprehensive plan and zoning laws and deny any application by District 220 to rezone or grant variance for a parking lot on North Hager or Main. Your support is vital to ensuring that Walnut Grove remains a residential haven for current and future generations. Thank you. I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. Margaret Vandech?
My name is Margaret Van Duke, and I live on North Hager Avenue. I'm urging you to deny the zoning amendment and all related variance requests submitted by School District 220 for the properties near the intersection of West Main and North Hager Avenue. Additionally, the school officials are in discussions with a homeowner at 118 North Hager Avenue, presumably for the same purpose, which is further down on Hager. The proposal to demolish residential homes to create a 40-stall parking lot represents a significant and harmful intrusion into our residential neighborhood. My opposition is based on the following: destruction of neighborhood character and precedent. This request is the very definition of spot zoning. Approving it would permanently alter the residential character of North Hager Avenue, remove viable housing stock, and set a dangerous precedent. It signals that residential zones bordering school property are not protected, but rather serve as land banks for future institutional expansion. Negative impact on adjoining properties. A parking lot, no matter how well landscaped, is a commercial style utility. It will bring undeniable light pollution, noise from vehicles and plows, and stormwater management challenges to the doorsteps of the adjacent homes. The required 40-foot landscape buffer, while necessary, only highlights the inappropriate nature of placing this lot next to single-family homes, conflicting with the village's comprehensive plan. The school district's proposal as everyone has said, also conflicts with the village's comprehensive plan, which aims to maintain the existing scale and character of neighborhoods and minimize commercial encroachment into residential areas. Rezoning North Hager Avenue would do precisely the opposite. Ultimately, North Hager Avenue plays a significant role in Barrington's architectural and cultural heritage. Rezoning and demolishing homes here would permanently erase part of the village's heritage. District 220 has a better option. The district is in negotiation with property owners directly across from the proposed new auditorium, 509 Main Street and 102 South Hager. Land already zoned for business use. A flashing crosswalk light already exists at this location, providing a protected and visible crossing. Hundreds of students cross Main Street safely here every week, proving it's a well-established pedestrian route. Building parking there would conveniently meet the district's needs without rezoning or removing homes, while keeping residential areas intact. Thank you for your service and for considering our proposal.
Thank you, Margaret. Amberly?
Good evening. I'm Amberly Kafader, and I live in a beautiful and well-curated Sears home on Hager Avenue. Now, my home has not always had such a loving stewardship. When we first acquired our home, it had seen much better days. In fact, we put so much effort and love into our home, and now she stands tall on our street, but we've never doubted her potential. We continue to give our blood, sweat, and sometimes tears as we renovate, and it's helped us to build our family. We've moved in about 8 years ago, and in those years, we've seen very big changes on our street. We've seen neighbors that are restoring their homes. We've seen more and more children at our bus stops. We've seen neighbors who wait on their porches every evening, waiting for someone to come by and say hello and stay a spell for them. We've been invited to Christmas parties and birthday celebrations. We've seen our little street grow, and I know that it will continue to grow and strengthen in its unity. I have 2 little girls who are my pride and joy, and they're a big reason of why I stand before you here today. You see, Barrington isn't where I grew up. It's not the only community that I've known. But for my 2 little girls, this is all they've ever known. And I want my daughters to know what it means to be a good neighbor and a respectful community member, and to stand up for what they believe is right. And taking homes away from your neighbors, let alone some of those very same people that attend District 220, is not right. This news came to us as a shock. We were not presented with impact studies or consulted about how this would change the values of our properties. As someone who is constantly investing in her home, this is extremely worrisome. What will happen to our investment if this proposed plan is seen through? I don't want to live next to a parking lot, and I'm sure that none of you do either. Parking seems to be a big issue for a lot of Barrington schools, but unfortunately, I don't see anyone taking houses down on Lake or Lincoln to support Huff Street parking. But for Hager, no one seems to have blinked an eye, and as taxpayers and community members, we're not only disappointed, but outraged. I am urging you not to rezone our street so that a parking lot can be built, let alone 40 spaces. I urge you to really think about the cost of what is being proposed, not only financially, but the cost of ruining a community, because once this project begins, there is no turning back. Please make the right choice. As a mother, I don't want to have to explain to my children that a parking space was more important than someone's home. Thank you for your time, and I hope after hearing your community members speak and seeing that we have over 150 petitions and still growing, that you can come to the same conclusion that we have. A parking lot is not in the best interest of the community as a whole and would ultimately be a detriment to Walnut Grove and Barrington in total. Thank you.
Thank you. David Prill? Prill?
All right. Good evening, trustees. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is David Prohl. My wife, Kristen, and I have lived at 428 West Main Street for over 30 years in the Walnut Grove subdivision. In fact, we were married in front of our fireplace on New Year's Eve in front of family and friends. We've raised our 5 kids here. We've watched every homecoming parade, 4th of July celebration, and we've been proud to be part of a neighborhood that truly reflects the heart of this community. We are here tonight because we're concerned about recent discussions and expansion activity taking place in our subdivision. Several homes have been purchased with the stated intention to demolish them for additional parking. Understandably, this created a lot of uncertainty and anxiety. We are not here to oppose the high school. We value the high school and we want it to succeed. Our kids went to the high school. 5 of my kids graduated. But we also want to preserve the character, stability, and property values of our neighborhood. A neighborhood made up of homes that represent the rich history and charm that make this village special. For decades, we've lived side by side with the school, respecting each other's role in the community. Tonight, that balance is at risk. Today, we're simply asking for reassurance and partnership. We ask that any future expansion proposals be brought forward with full transparency and community input, that the Village and 220 School Board make clear that residents' voices will be heard before any zoning changes affecting this neighborhood are considered. The Village and the 220 School Board conduct detailed topographic survey and drainage impact study on adjacent properties to make those findings public. And the Village and 220 School Board work collaboratively with homeowners to explore alternatives that preserve our neighborhood. We are here in good faith. We in support of our Walnut Grove neighbors. We strongly oppose any rezoning that destroys homes and displaces residents. Walnut Grove is home to teachers, paramedics, police officers, retirees, small business owners, and young families. This is not a disposable neighborhood. Let's work together on alternative solutions that work for everyone. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, David. Melissa, you're the last one on this topic.
Hi, I'm Melissa Tarani. I live on North Hager. I didn't prepare anything. They said they wanted more people to speak, so I volunteered. I grew up here. I went from Roslyn Road all the way up Station to Barrington High School. I raised my kids here. Another topic, my ex-husband was a paid-on-call paid-on-call fireman, ex-husband. I've worked in this town from odd jobs to the preschool to everywhere. I've bought my house back in 2001, and I've fought to keep that house through a divorce, through so many bankruptcies, through so much. To have that home value taken away now when I'm getting closer and closer to retirement would hurt. It's really my only investment. So I appreciate everybody who spoke before me. I do love our town. I work in this town. I love this town. I couldn't see myself anywhere else. So I'd like to keep my neighborhood, and not look at a parking lot and not make it harder. And I know the children, you may call them children, but they are old enough to drive, they're old enough to cross the street. So, I mean, say they can't cross the street, then they shouldn't be driving a car. I mean, that's pretty simple. So maybe take away their driver's license or tell them they can't drive to school anymore. I mean, can't cross the street. All right, thank you. Thanks for your time. Thanks for listening. Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa. Okay, so I think that's all from this topic. I would ask you also to share your comments with the school board as well. At this point in the life cycle, I think probably more important for you to share them with them than us, but we appreciate you coming out and talking about this. The next group of folks had a different topic. Michelle Beckmeyer.
Hi, good evening. My name is Michelle Beckmeyer. I live at 585 Elm Road in Barrington. I'm here tonight asking the village to join our neighbors around Chicago by adopting a welcoming ordinance. These ordinances affirm a simple truth. Our local government serves everyone who lives here. They help residents report crimes, assess services, and take part in the community life without fear about immigration status. They also keep local police focused on protecting our neighborhoods and not enforcing federal immigration laws. Communities across the region have already adopted similar ordinances consistent with state laws under the Trust and Way Forward Acts. Passing one here would show Barrington values trust, safety, and inclusion, and that every neighbor belongs. I urge the board to make this a priority. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Rochelle?
Hi. Sorry, I've never done this before. Good evening. Thank you for your time. My name is Rochelle Tillman. I'm a newer Barrington resident. My family and I are transplants from Texas, and we've loved our time here in Barrington. I've been really charmed by it. It's a beautiful village, and everyone has been really nice and welcoming. And on that note, I'm asking that our village adopt a welcoming ordinance that aligns with Illinois's Trust Act and the Way Forward Act. These state laws are clear. Local police and government agencies should not act as immigration enforcement. The Trust Act prohibits detaining people based only on ICE requests, and the Way Forward Act ends contracts with ICE and limits how local government can share information. Both laws were created to strengthen trust between communities and local government, because when people feel safe, our community is stronger. A welcoming ordinance would ensure that our village follows these laws consistently and transparently. It would make clear that all residents, regardless of immigration status, can call 911, send their kids to school, or seek help without fear. Other nearby towns and villages have already taken this step, and by doing so, they've improved community relationships and shown that inclusion and public safety go hand in hand. I urge the board to review model ordinances and engage our residents in crafting one that fits our community's values. Let's make sure our village truly lives up to its promise of being a safe and welcoming home for everyone. Again, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Rochelle. Brandon Hay?
Good evening, and thank you for your time. Trustees, village presidents, and staff. My name is Brandon. I've lived in the neighboring community of Port Barrington for my whole life. I spent many times going between back between Barrington, and I've loved Barrington. I have went to many Barrington High School games and have in high school played against, and also just really appreciate the community. That's why I'm here asking to join in neighboring communities like Carpentersville, Wheeling, Lake County, and adopting the welcoming ordinance. I do believe that, in addition to what they have said, limiting local involvement with the Trust Act and the Way Forward Act, these ordinances reaffirm a simple truth, that local governments exist to serve everyone who lives here. And with these acts, they will affirm the ordinance put in, if it was put in place, basically to make sure and ensure that law enforcement is not the federal law enforcement is not, and local law enforcement are not working hand in hand, but there are certain barriers put in place to be able to make sure that there is a separation of federal versus local. But also, it would entrust and ensure the community's safety. When it comes to things like detainer requests, for instance, we want to make sure that undocumented immigrants have the ability to, not live in fear and not be able to, come forward in case they want to be a witness to a case. Then they'll be able to come forward and not be fearful of that or just other things. Community safety is something I take very seriously, and I want just everyone in the community to feel safe. And so I would just ask that you guys review the welcoming ordinance and see what other municipalities have done to enforce laws, and at the very least to see what can be done to enforce them. But it would just help to not just for public safety, but also for the local law enforcement as well. So with that, thank you for your time, and thank you.
Thanks, Brandon. Maria Peterson.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to make a public comment with regard to the Welcome Barrington. I'm Maria Peterson, a resident of North Barrington, and I have stood before your board before only to ask for good, not coming to complain. I am known throughout the Barrington area as community service organizer, as well as my race for state senate and the Illinois House. But tonight I come before you to ask again for good, that you vote the affirmative for the Barrington Welcoming Ordinance. In 1996, when my family and I moved from Chicago to North Barrington, yes, I myself encountered discrimination right here in Barrington. But rather than hiding, I got involved in the community. But we live in different times now. We live in a time where ICE and CBP are abusing and abducting people of color, people who look like me, or who are darker, or have more profound features. It's why even myself, I carry a copy of my passport, because just in case I get stopped. It does not behoove me here that your podium is sideways so that I can talk to you and I could talk to the members of the audience. But we have seen in several villages in the city of Chicago, in Broadview, we have seen how the police that have been called to maintain order have actually been having their backs towards CPB and ICE instead of having their backs to the public who they should be protecting. As a member of the Community Emergency Response Team in Wakanda, when we're out doing public service and protecting the public from during events, we have our backs to the public who we are protecting so that we're watching what's happening in front of us and we can ask people to move back, that we could protect them from any harm. But that's not what we're seeing in many communities where the police is called. Police should have our backs, not push us away and hurt us. So I am asking, again, the village to do good by voting in the affirmative for the Barrington Welcoming Ordinance Act to protect everyone that lives here, everyone that has contributed to this community, from North Barrington to South Barrington, the Village of Barrington to Port Barrington, all the unincorporated area of Barrington. Because it's ICE and CBP, and now we know bounty hunters are coming now. They're getting paid pretty well too. That you vote on this in the affirmative to prevent those three organizations, ICE, CBP, and bounty hunters, from using village buildings and facilities, and that we ask our police to indeed protect our community by not assisting in the unlawful abuse and abduction of residents and community members simply because of the color of their skin. Thank you.
Thanks, Maria. Jim McGrath.
So my name is Jim McGrath. I am a member of the Barrington Area Environmental Advisory Committee. I'm here to let you guys know that several members of that committee were able to assist the Public Works this last Saturday in their inaugural pumpkin smash. How many of you knew that was happening? It was great. The parents loved it, the kids loved it. We had Sarah, Paul, and Matt organizing and setting it up. One thing that was obvious, a couple of the parents, when they found out that Public Works was organizing this, they said, but what does Public Works actually do? So this was a great public PR opportunity for the village to promote this next year. We need to do it again. So we'll be meeting, the environmental committee will be meeting Wednesday night to talk about how we can do it bigger and better next year. So that, I actually have two subjects. Let me get my next one up here. So I am actually going to read something that was written by someone who can't be here tonight because she is a member of the library board, and she can't be here because there's a library board meeting tonight. So this was written by Lindsay Prigge, and I'm reading it because I agree with what she's got in this letter. She says, I am here tonight because I believe it's time for Barrington to take proactive action and adopt the welcoming ordinance that aligns with Illinois law and affirms that our community stands for safety, humanity, and the rule of law. This is not something happening in other towns, it's happening here. It's happening here. I don't know if you're aware of that, but it's happening here. 2 people were detained at the car wash just last week. Someone working in South Barrington was obtained. That's less than a half a mile from Rose School. Countless others have been taken in the community surrounding Sunny Hill, which is in Carpentersville, but in our school district. Our daily lives reach beyond the borders of families across zip code 6010. Our library district, our community spaces, when fear reaches the corner of that network, it ripples through all of us. Illinois law already gives us the framework, the Trust Act, the Way Forward Act, Voices Act limit local participation in civil immigration enforcement. Without detentions, without judicial warrants, and protect victims and witnesses of crimes. But those protections only matter when they are visible and consistently applied at the local law level. A Village of Barrington welcoming ordinance would not create a new law, as you know. It would clarify and codify compliance with existing law, just as Carpentersville, Wheeling, Waukegan, North Chicago, and Lake County have already done. It would state clearly that the village staff and property will not be used for civil immigration enforcement, except where required by law. Immigration status information will not be collected or shared unless legally necessary. Staff will not be trained on compliance. Staff will be trained on compliance with Illinois law. Annual public reports will be published. This is about safety. It is about humanity, and I say that from experience. This is something that Lindsay experienced on October 15th. She was sitting in a car. ICE approached the car while she was exercising her First Amendment rights to support a friend who was protecting her community. Federal agents surrounded the car, threw a spike strip behind the car, asked her to roll her window down. She was told that honking her horn in support of the friend was considered interference with federal agent. That experience was meant to intimidate and silence me. I'm a white woman, a mother, someone who looks like the kind of person history has often favored. If this is how I was treated, what is happening to those of our neighbors of color, to those who speak another language, to those who work and live in our peaceful towns? This is happening here, not somewhere else. Barrington has a choice. We can be reactive and wait until harm comes our way, or we can be proactive, protecting our residents now and ensuring our local government operates lawfully, transparently, and humanely. I urge the board to begin the process of adopting the welcoming ordinance that Barrington stands for fairness, dignity, and trust. I'm going to add to that. We have a friend who is a doctor. She's from India. She's a doctor. She's a person of color. She is afraid to go to her job. This is Barrington. We need to make sure that these people feel safe in our community. So please consider passing this welcoming ordinance. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. That's all the sheets I had. Did anybody else want to say something before we move on? See.
He didn't say if he was from the village. So far, I didn't hear any of them saying they were from the village.
Who?
The people that spoke. We were from the village when we spoke. Those people weren't from the village.
Actually, Jim McGrath is from the village.
Jim's from the village. Maria said she was from the North Barrington.
North Barrington is not the village. North Barrington is not the village.
Okay, but it's public comment. Anybody's allowed to comment. You don't have to be from the village.
We spoke as village members.
Okay.
About our own homes.
Okay.
Right.
We heard that.
My address, I am from the village.
Not sure I understand. Everybody's allowed to public comment.
I'm not saying I'm just saying to take the village seriously, and you just pushed us off and told us to go back to the school district.
Okay,
No.
I didn't do that. I gave you every opportunity to do public comment. I just asked that you also share your comments with the school district. That's what I did. Okay, that's all I asked. I didn't switch.
I was
didn't switch
thinking
it up.
maybe what we should
Or-
do is also, maybe you can expound on that, because as I understand it, nothing has come to the village board yet, so that would be.
That would be great. Thanks, Jennifer.
I'm Jennifer Tennant, the Director of Development Services for the village. So all of the projects that go before the board and the Plan Commission come to staff first. So the village has received an application from the school district for the project that many of you spoke about tonight. The project is still in the early stages. So what that means is we receive the plans from the school district, we review them, and then we issue them review comments about additional items that they may need to submit or may need to be addressed before the project can move forward. So the next step in the process would be for the school district to address some of the comments or all of the comments that the village has been provided them, and then they will hold a neighborhood meeting. This is an informal meeting that will take place between the school district and the residents around the project area. I believe that notice has been mailed, and the neighborhood meeting is scheduled for December 10th at 6 p.m. via Zoom. Anyone is welcome to attend, and so I can share that information with you if you did not receive a letter. Following that, the school district will move on through the Plan Commission process, which is a public hearing, which will be held here in this room. Right now, that is tentatively scheduled for January 13th, 2026. That date will be formalized once they review the village's comments and determine if they can resubmit plans on that timeline. So that date is still tentative until the school district determines if they're going to move forward on that given timeline. So no public comment or public meetings on the project have been held yet. Those are all still in our future, and everybody is welcome to participate in all of those meetings. I know many of you have been in correspondence with our village planner as well, so you can continue to stay in correspondence with us. When the project moves forward, it will be on our website, signs will be posted on the property, and notices will be sent to property owners within 250 feet of the project, which will be all of the residents that live on both sides of Hager. That's how far the buffer extends. And so all of the public input on this project is still in front of us. Thank you.
So has the zoning been changed then?
No.
So has anything been approved?
No, nothing has been approved or considered.
Sorry, it's just been, there's, I don't know if there's been a miscommunication. We did receive a letter in the mail, but that letter did not state anything about zoning or about our street. It was just about new upcoming projects at the high school.
Okay, so that.
It was a little unclear as to what that meeting was really going to be held to discuss.
Gotcha. So that letter you just received from the high school inviting you to the December 10th meeting?
Yeah, we just got it today.
Yep, yeah, I know, it just went out late last week, yes. So that's, that letter is inviting you to a neighborhood meeting to learn about this project and the auditorium project. They're being considered together.
Well, Jennifer, that
Yes.
wasn't from,
Correct, that is from the school district directly, yes. Yes, so
Okay.
nothing has been rezoned or considered yet.
And we heard about the purchase of these projects through the same news cycle as you did. So we're a little surprised that we weren't given more information as well. So, again, this is way in front of us. We're learning much like you
Nothing on
are.
our agenda tonight at all related to this.
Vote on zoning, is that something that would happen after the closing of the properties? Which seems kind of silly.
So the school district, is free, they can make a property purchase. It doesn't impact the zoning in any way. The zoning is considered as part of their request for the parking lot and for the auditorium changes that they're proposing. So all of that is being considered on this timeline that I've mentioned as one package. That's the application that they've made to the village for rezoning of those parcels to public lands, which is the same zoning as the high school property, and for the parking lot construction and then the auditorium construction.
So what advice could you give us so that we can reach that school board better, I suppose?
Sure. So I would encourage you to, share all of your comments that you've shared with us tonight with the school board as well. We have a good relationship with the school district employees, and we'll be sharing them with them as well. But participation in the whole public process is what I recommend. So attending the neighborhood meeting to make sure that you're having your feedback directly heard by the school district and their consulting team that's working on this project. And then, of course, attending our public process, which is held at the Plan Commission in January. So staying involved, you can check our website. We have a development updates website. So this project will be going on to that website now that it's entering the public stage of the process, where we'll keep you up to date on all of these meeting dates. Sometimes they get pushed out. So that'll be a good place to check. You can always contact myself or our village planner directly if you have questions or want additional information. And also you can continue to submit letters and comments. Anything we've received so far and up until the Plan Commission meeting will be compiled and provided to our Plan Commission so that they're aware of all of the conversations that have been going on throughout the review process.
Is the village going to do any impact studies of their own? Like, I know the school district has done like a traffic study of what this would do to the patterns, but would the village do an impact study about what would happen to property values and neighborhoods?
So any studies that are required to be done will be done by the petitioner, which is the school district. The village then receives those studies, and then when we feel necessary, we also have an independent consultant review them. So we'll receive traffic impact study from the school district that will also be reviewed by our independent licensed traffic engineer.
Jennifer, is it fair to say that a project like this takes multiple months, so that when it starts at the January meeting, it could go for multiple months where feedback is given, the school board has to come back. I think we meet once a month, or they meet.
Yes, they meet once a month. The Plan Commission, the Plan Commission meets on the second Tuesday of the month. So I know if I saw a few familiar faces here that might have been at some of the Claremont meetings. So you can see that there are oftentimes multiple meetings that are heard when we have a lot of community involvement to see if there, are changes or anything that we can do to work with the residents, that the school district can do to work with the residents through the process.
So you say that we'll have the opportunity to meet the school board on December 10th, right?
The school district is hosting a neighborhood meeting, so it will be members of the staff and their consulting team.
Right, so the actual purchase of the property is scheduled on December 15th. Yeah. And you think that the school is going to buy this for property knowing that maybe it will not be zoned?
So I can't really comment on that. The village has no involvement in the purchase of these properties. You would have to talk with the school district about that.
So if you guys were to not rezone though, they would not be able to move forward with this? Or how would that work? Or who has the ability to stop the rezoning and shut this down?
Know that the village is going to rezone. And
No.
That's not true. That's not a foregone conclusion.
You've shared more information with us tonight than the school board has shared with us. Again, this is early on in the process, and we have very little knowledge other than what little staff has got.
Meetings with school representatives, and they have showed us the plans that they have shared all of.
Well, they're going to
They have
make,
not showed us those
they're going to
plans.
make plans, but that doesn't mean that
Yes,
we're.
we have plans for what they're proposing to do. Those are under staff review right now. I think what the board is alluding to is the timing of the property purchase and things like that are not something that the village is involved in.
I think that you can understand, though, that knowing that the closing is December 15th, we feel as residents that the moment that happens, that the decision is done. So between now and December 15th, how can we be at the table? And is there a way for residents and the school and the village to be at the same table? So you're not like, we come here and we pour out our heart and we say, go to the school board. And then we'll go to the school board and they'll be like, well, you also need to talk to the village. And we've been told that. How do we have a conversation together so that our voices are heard?
Yeah, so we actually have a meeting, an internal meeting with school board or school district staff, so we can work together on, some next steps for this process. Anybody else have any questions?
I don't.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Okay, I appreciate everybody coming to give comments. It's a very important part of the process. We do appreciate it. So thank you. Next, we'll move to our minutes of October 27th, 2025 Board of Trustees. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Duncan.
Roll call, please.
Schoen. Trustee Lemire.
Yes.
Trustee Schoen.
Yes.
Trustee Wondrazek.
Yes.
Trustee Duncan.
Yes.
Trustee Priggy.
Yes.
Trustee Clower.
Yes.
President Moran.
Yes. That is approved. President's report. First off, I'm sure everybody's well aware, but Route 14 is open. It was a great accomplishment, and many thanks to staff. Can we ask you guys to kind of... I'll let him leave. So many thanks to everyone on staff that helped to expedite the process. Please remember to drive the speed limit and to drive carefully, especially when heading south, as we now have a new Barrington curve just after you cross Huff Street, which requires drivers diligent, careful driving, and please maintain the speed limit. A couple other things. Congratulations to the Barrington girls cross country for winning, I guess, their second championship, at least 2 years in a row, to my recollection. So congratulations to them. Congratulations to the Barrington High School football team for their continued success in the postseason play. They are doing tremendous there as well. I think this is the first meeting since Halloween, so thank you to the community for another great Halloween. Thank you to staff and the police department for maintaining a safe environment for the kids as well. It's this type of an event that makes Barrington a great place to raise a family, so we appreciate that. As was mentioned earlier, we had our inaugural pumpkin smash in combination with Public Works in the Barrington High School. I tried to find out how many tons of pumpkin compost were made, but I'm being told that it was quite a bit. So next year, bring your pumpkins and smash them, I guess, right? So thank you. Lastly, just a reminder that tomorrow is Veterans Day. We have our ceremony at 11 o'clock at Veterans Park, which is right there at Main and Cook, kind of in front of what was the old McGonagall's. So if you have the opportunity, please join us. That's it for my report.
No staff reports this evening.
Sounds great. I will read through the consent agenda. Item A is a motion authorizing staff to proceed with the hiring of one police department records assistant, one development services village engineer, one public works maintenance worker, based on the following criteria: meet the qualifications established for and demonstrate the ability to perform essential duties and responsibilities of the position outlined in the Village of Barrington job description for police department records assistant, development service village engineer, and public works maintenance worker. Item B is an ordinance authorizing and approving a contract with Morton Salt for the purchase of rock salt for the 2025-2026 snow and ice season through IDOT. Item C is an ordinance authorizing and approving a contract with Morton Salt for the purchase of rock salt for the 2025 snow and ice season through LCDOT. Item D is an ordinance authorizing the intergovernmental agreement with Cook County Health Department to provide environmental health inspection services. Item E is an ordinance authorizing the acquisition of property and the exercise of power of eminent domain to acquire easements for utilities, including sanitary, sewer lift station related equipment, access and maintenance. Item F is an ordinance granting a variation for fence in the front yard, ZBA 25-03 for the property at 724 Lil Street. Can I have a motion? Set these items on the consent agenda. Sorry.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Lamar?
Yes.
Trustee Charlene?
Yes.
Trustee Wondrazek?
Yes.
Trustee Duncan?
Yes.
Trustee Priggy?
Yes.
Trustee Clower?
Yes.
President Moran?
Yes. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda by omnibus vote?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Wow.
Trustee Lamar?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Trustee Charlene?
Yes.
Trustee Wondrazek?
Yes.
Trustee Duncan?
Yes.
Trustee Priggy?
Yes.
Trustee Clower?
Yes.
President Moran?
Yes. Next, item 5 is an ordinance amending Title VII of the Village Code restricting the use of village property for civil immigration enforcement activities. Is there a motion to approve item 5?
Rather than looking for a motion immediately in the spirit of the earlier discussion, I would ask that we open discussion on this item.
I think if we follow procedure, we need a first and a second, which allows us to go into discussion without a second.
Second.
We need a first.
First.
Charlene?
Second.
Okay. So I will open it up for discussion, but before I do that, I think I can speak for the entire board to say that what's going on in this country currently is atrocious. I don't think any of us agree in any form with what's happening in the United States, locally here with immigration. So the discussion points that we will have a variety of viewpoints and come from a variety of different perspectives to try to get to the right answer for the village of Barrington. So with that, I open it up for discussion.
I will start with, I was the one that asked for this to be on the agenda this evening. In the event that we were able to get to consensus, I didn't want to be prevented by the Open Meetings Act from being able to take action on it this evening. I will say my intent, though perhaps unclear in that request, was that it be on both the COW and the trustees meeting. And so apologies to anybody that felt blindsided by it being only on one of the two meetings today. Again, not my intent, but I can see how that was probably unclear in my request. I think that the ordinance that's on the table is the most stripped down ordinance that could have been proposed, with the exception of perhaps the enforcement clause. We have seen other municipalities adopt similar ordinances, and we've seen other municipalities adopt similar ordinances after having an incident. And as municipalities in the state of Illinois, for a variety of reasons, we have very few opportunities to get in front of issues. And so being able to adopt this type of ordinance before we've had a high profile issue, because I'm not going to say we haven't had issues in the village of Barrington already, but before we've had a high profile issue, is something that I think bears some consideration. And with the next board meeting being 2 weeks out, I think that there is a certain amount of consideration that we need to give to moving forward with the information that we have. To that end, this ordinance is modeled after the Carpentersville ordinance that was passed after the October 15th and October 16th incidents that occurred in Carpentersville. And again, is very narrowly tailored to avoid making political statements, to avoid making overt promises to protect the community, because we don't have that authority, as has been mentioned. This is strictly about Barrington Village property. This is, if ICE were to show up and say, hey, we're using your holding cells as a detention facility, this gives us a policy way to say no. where we don't have that in any written policy today. I understand the concerns that there aren't teeth in the ordinance because of things like the supremacy clause, and you're right, there aren't. But this gives us that ability to have a policy in place. If it would make the board or the police department more comfortable to strip out the enforcement clause from the ordinance, I would absolutely entertain amending that so that it is a policy stance without getting us into a weird enforcement realm. But as we heard tonight from public comment, this is a very real issue that is here right now. And will this be the final ordinance that we issue on this topic? Perhaps not. Will it pass in its current form? Perhaps not. But I do think it's important to have a conversation tonight, given the humanity that we've seen here, in Carpentersville, in Broadview, and what we heard from the community this evening.
Okay. I think one of the things that I'm concerned with in listening to public comment is the understanding of what does this act that we're talking about really entail? Because all the things that I was hearing fall under either my understanding of the Safety Act, which we follow, or providing some type of assurances that don't exist in this act. And one of the things that I would like, Jim, is if you can help explain specifically what this act actually allows us to do as a village. To me, that's an important understanding of again, the very narrow scope, and making sure that people don't have a misunderstanding that if this or some other act did get passed, would create any relevant, really big difference. And that's also a big concern of mine, because I don't want assumptions because of that act passed that suddenly it's fundamentally changed much at all.
Yep, and I would agree with that. I think many of the public comments were seeking ordinances larger than we have on the table this evening, certainly. And while many of those are admirable goals that would address real issues, they are things that are beyond the pale of what we can do as municipalities. Certainly other municipalities have tried, but I think we'll have similar appeal concerns that we've seen elsewhere. Before we get Jim's comment, I would just like to remind that we're at a Board of Trustees meeting, not a COW meeting. And so, Jim, if you could be by a microphone, that would be fantastic.
Sure.
Yeah, they have a portable mic.
Oh, great, thanks. Well, I usually don't need a mic.
For here, yes, but for Channel 4 and YouTube, perhaps.
You know, I would tell you, I understand the difficulty I understand the difficulty that you face in dealing with this issue. You know, the Trust Act doesn't give you a lot of direction. It says you shall not allow immigration enforcement to use facilities of the agency, which means we interpret that as facilities of the village, because the police department and the village are one and the same entity. You know, I don't think it gives you a mechanism for enforcement, and it certainly doesn't. I have to say, honestly, the hearing that the federal government is challenging the Trust Act, I think that's a really significant thing that you should probably wait and see what happens in that litigation, because I think the supremacy clause is a real problem in the Trust Act. And I've always thought that, and I think it's been 2 years old or more that it's been on the books. But the first time I read it, I thought, well, how could they say, you know, it's really interfering with, my concern would be the federal government will charge people with interfering with with law enforcement, with the immigration law enforcement. And I think that's a legitimate concern. I mean, I have people in my family who carry their passports around too. And so it's frightening for everybody, but at the, I guess I would say, I heard this in church 2 weeks ago. It's still America. Things are gonna get straightened out in this, but I think it may take a while.
We're the ones that
That's not the clarity you might want, but.
Well, I guess the one thing I would say is, what specifically, can you kind of boil it down I know it's only 3 pages, but essentially what does the act that that's being put before us, what does that truly entail?
It's the operative language says that immigration enforcement shall not use the local facilities, facilities of an agency of a municipality or the state, whatever.
And how does that differ from what exists in the law today in the state of Illinois?
Oh, well, I don't think that the Trust Act puts that prohibition on us. It didn't give us more power. It took away, well, you could say it took away something we might have chosen to do, but I don't think it, I'll say honestly, I'm not sure this Trust Act will survive the supremacy clause. And I haven't taken a long look at it, but I don't think there's any cases that say what will happen in this circumstance either. I think that's my gut reaction from when it was passed.
Sorry, Jim, is it fair to say largely what the ordinance in front of the board tonight, though, is further defining village facilities beyond what is defined in the Trust Act? Is that the largest part of what's before them tonight?
Well, I think it's a logical application of the Trust Act to our situation. That in our situation, our facilities are the village hall, the police station, et cetera.
And so largely that is kind of what this is what this is added to the Trust Act is a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay.
And similarly, if the Trust Act were to fall, it would be as simple an ordinance as we're considering tonight to remove the one added chapter of our village code, correct?
One added.
So
yes.
This ordinance is adding a chapter.
It can be repealed at any.
And the enforcement behind this is not police enforcement. The enforcement behind this comes from the village manager's office, correct?
That's how it's written, and I think it'll be difficult to issue citations to ICE agents. I mean,
Oh, they're not gonna take them.
Yeah, so that's my question.
We could take
is,
that out,
So we're gonna
right?
send Scott out to the parking lot to issue a citation to an ICE agent who won't accept it from him. I'm having trouble seeing what this ordinance does for us.
I mean, maybe people might think it's political on my part, but I feel like I'm finally taking a stand. I find what's been going on in our country to be disgusting. And I want to take a stand, and this is somewhat at time be able to take some sort of a stand. They could come in and they could take over this village hall and throw us all out. But I felt like we've taken a stand saying, we don't want you here. And I just feel it's publicly announcing, we don't want you here. And yeah, I know that our police work with the FBI and with the certain groups. I don't believe in my heart that these are the people that our police department be working with what they've been doing. Throwing tear gas at people who are just demonstrating. I want to make a statement. That's my whole reason.
Jim, I have chapter 5 of the village code in front of me. Is it fair to say that there's no enforcement provisions expressly embedded in chapter 5 as it exists today?
In the draft ordinance, is that what you're talking?
In the draft ordinance, there certainly is, but in chapter 5 as it exists today.
I don't know what chapter 5 is.
What are you you referencing?
So in the current village code, there's chapter 7-5-1 through 12. The ordinance would propose to create 13.
Okay.
And in here, there is no enforcement as it exists today. So if the argument is that it's unenforceable, then what is the rest of the village code?
Well, it's enforceable because Scott would have the right to go enforce it, but I just find it hard to believe that Scott's gonna go out and issue a citation that anyone's really gonna accept and there's gonna be any practical result from that.
Do
And
I
I
see
don't
this as
think
less
functionally that-
Scott giving
whatever.
a citation as Scott is now being directed
I'm
to?
sorry, can you repeat your
Oh,
statement?
I'm seeing this as less as, and we could take out the part where Scott gives a citation, because Scott, I'm not gonna make you go give a citation.
I would want
them.
to see you like in a
No,
police
I
officer
think that,
costume though, if you did.
I don't think that does anything, but it is giving you a direction that if they approach you and say, we want to use this lot, you say no. They might say, I don't care, they might just do it anyway, right?
I think
But at
regardless
least-
of the action taken on this specific ordinance, under the Trust Act, I think our first action would be to speak to ICE if they're on village property and ask them to leave. Regardless of what we do, that would be the first thing we do is say, you're not welcome on our property, we need you to move to another location. And I think our experiences, or I think Dave could speak to that, is speaking with other chiefs, that has been effective. But so regardless of the ordinance or not, the first point would make contact and ask them to move to another location.
But if they didn't do that, there's really nothing we can do other
Then
than
it
write them a
gets back to
citation.
the issuing citation. And I mean, to Marie's point, there is something to the trying to define what facilities are. The bigger concern, I think, would be, the police department, pretty obvious, village hall, pretty obvious, metro station. Is that something that's now in a gray area where defining facilities gives us a little bit more of a definition of those types of uses, those type of properties? Still get back to the original issue is what does that enforcement look like? If ICE shows up en masse at the metro station, we have an ordinance to basically cite them. That doesn't mean that the behavior is gonna change. That doesn't mean they're gonna leave. And we have a mechanism, again, to bring them back under citation, but nothing in this ordinance makes them move away from the property.
And nothing functionally changes. If a bunch of guys showed up in a black SUV with no plates on it at the Metro lot, we would still go see what they're doing anyway.
Absolutely.
And so, I think there was some concern raised at the committee of the whole last week about, well, are we supposed to go ask what they're doing? Well, that is functionally what would occur today.
Agreed.
I mean, the reality of it is we're in unprecedented times. I don't think we've ever seen this type of stuff. When the leaders of this country and the President of the United States don't abide by the most important document that was ever created, the Constitution of the United States, any ordinance that we might put in place is somewhat arbitrary. They're gonna, vote it, not vote it. If they choose not to move, they choose not to leave, there is nothing we can do about it. Scott will walk away and there's nothing else we can do. I'm a little fearful, especially based on the feedback from the citizens that stood up tonight, that they think this ordinance or this potential ordinance gives us the power to defend, the power to stop, the power to get in the way, to have our police departments, stand up and defend. I was a little surprised at one of the comments that was made about standing one way or standing the other. Boy, that's super, super dangerous when I have two law enforcement agencies staring at each other, trying to see who's going to win that battle. So it's a challenging issue, and I guess the question is, we just need to be very careful that everything these folks ask for in public comment is truly not going to happen, because we do not have the power to do that as a local municipality.
And that is as much of a legislative topic as we're discussing here, as much as a communications topic. If this ordinance were to pass, we would need to communicate, here's what the ordinance says, and here's what it doesn't say, and here's the powers that we do and do not have. I think, to the conversation that we heard across multiple topics, transparency is key. And so as long as we are accurately communicating what we are and are not willing to do, what we are and are not capable of doing, I think that does more for public safety than anything else. And I don't know, that I see any substantial harm coming from an ordinance that codifies what we already have a requirement to do by state law, assuming that the state law stands. And if it doesn't, let's talk about a repeal. I'll be the first one to say, let's make sure that we are in a legally defensible place. But I think that we owe it to our community members that are here tonight and those that were afraid to come tonight. I had a community member reach out to me that they were unable to speak after conferring with their spouse because they were worried about, as a brown person, speaking at public comment at our meeting tonight in support of this ordinance. That's concerning to me. And I think we owe it to the community members that had the courage to be here and the ones that didn't to put something on paper. Even if that paper is not worth the paper it's printed on, it is still something that we can say we did something. And if we can expand on that later, great. If we have to repeal that later, we tried. But I don't want to talk about Washington. I don't want to talk about Illinois. I want to talk about Barrington.
Right.
And what can we do to protect Barrington today, both from those coming from outside and those inside. And the one thing that we can do is codify that our property will not be used for this purpose.
But we can't. This doesn't do what you're asking it to do because it's got no teeth.
No.
Again, it doesn't give Scott any more rights to walk up to federal agents and ask them to leave than it would if he didn't have it. So,
Right, I think, but what Brian is saying is he would like us to affirm, and this just affirms the Trust Act and that we will abide by those. It is, I get it, it is a little gratuitous in some respects because it is, or redundant, maybe that's the term I'm looking for, it's redundant. But it is a statement that says we support that Trust Act, and it's not gonna hold, I would never put our police department in a position that is not, that would make them safe. I mean, I would absolutely remove taking the, what is it, giving them a ticket or citation, take that out. I have no problem, I would like to take that out, but I think it is just, and I know I've talked about, is it a proclamation, whatever it is, but the proclamation is solely at the discretion of the president, village president. It's not something from the board. So this is an opportunity that something from the board can come out and say, we will be abiding by the Trust Act and not allowing that's all it is. And no, it is not. A lot of people did ask for other things and we can't. It's not within our governance. It's not in our purview. So this is a pretty benign.
Don't you think I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Speak.
I was gonna say, don't you think that if this is the only thing that we can do as like as a board that speaks for our community, right? We're speaking for everybody in our community, and like Brian said, like there are people in our community who are nervous about operating their normal day-to-day lives because of what's happening. And I think just to say that we expect the federal government to abide by the law, right? We're saying it. I think that's the best we can do in this situation. I think as a board outside of politics, about humanity, about people who live here, I think it's important that we at least acknowledge, like, this isn't right. This isn't the way anybody living in America should feel as a person. Not politically, nothing charged politically. I don't care who you vote for, what you do. That doesn't matter. It's that our community members, some, are being profiled and they're scared. And for us to not acknowledge somehow.
But I don't think we're not acknowledging it by passing, by
No,
not
no, you're
passing
fine,
this
you're fine.
ordinance. I mean, I think this ordinance doesn't say that we're not supporting our community members. What's concerning to me is we're about to pass an ordinance or talking about trying to adopt an ordinance that we're never going to do anything with. It's just going to sit there. And so that's a law that we're passing, and I feel like our law should have meaning and value. So that's where I'm concerned. I just don't want to pass some, I mean, maybe we talk about a resolution like Jen suggested or something along those lines. Something like that would, maybe there'd be more comfort for me in that. But I just don't like passing laws that have no meaning. I'm struggling with that. And I'm concerned about the supremacy clause. I keep thinking about
Yeah,
that too.
I mean, I don't know.
Ultimately,
I mean,
where does this go? Like the
where does
federal
that go? I
government
think
wins every single time.
I think there's a good chance that the state will lose in defending the Trust Act. And I don't agree with that. It's sad, but if I was a predictor of what the federal courts will do, there's a good chance they could void the trust.
Well, then we void it.
I'm attacking my own work product, right?
Yeah.
I drafted the ordinance, but I think at the end of the day, aren't you giving everybody a misimpression that the ordinance will work?
Yeah.
That's the problem.
That's what I think. Why would we pass a law that just has, there's no meaning behind it. It's just nothing. We're passing a law that means nothing. That's really bothersome to me. We pass laws because they're meaningful and we know they're going to make a difference for our community. And I think there are terrible things going on here too. I want to make sure I've said that out loud. Right. It's not that I am not concerned about the person who's afraid to come to public comment, because that's really bothersome. Everyone that wants to speak at these meetings should feel like they are welcome to be here and like they can safely be here. So that's a really bothersome comment that you made to me tonight. But I still just am struggling between the Supremacy Act and the fact that this law, we are never going to do anything with it. I just am struggling with it. I'm struggling.
And it sets a false expectation, is what you're saying.
Right.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I said, and it sets a false expectation in the community, is what she said.
Yes, I see
I mean, that would argue in favor of a resolution or something instead of an ordinance.
So are the other
Could we set up
town.
a policy in the sense
Well,
that
that would be
that's-
an expression policy, but not an ordinance, not a law.
Right, I mean, the idea of a policy that we would go to them and say, we don't want, and we make it public, we don't want you here. We don't want you to set up on our property, our village property.
To argue both sides of the argument though, passing even a resolution might put us in this position of, what's the guy at the county board said, don't poke the bear, right? I mean, yes, you have to wrestle with that too.
Yeah.
But I think a resolution certainly is more reflective of the authority you probably ultimately have because of the supremacy clause.
It's hard for me to say that anything would be poking the bear, given that both of our county governments have passed an ordinance such as this. Lake County's gone so far as to order signs and post them on county property so that you know which property is county property. And we've seen the list of municipalities that we know from our own research and that we heard from our public commenters this evening. The best analogy that I have is the bed of nails. We're not poking the bear because it's rank and file rather than individual.
I don't have any comment on that. I think you have a hard decision to make because I don't think the ordinance is gonna work. It's gonna give the impression that you have a tool that will work and it won't. I think a resolution would be more reflective of what you have, which is your moral authority to speak on the subject.
Is the resolution, is that just from you?
No.
No, it's the entire board.
To the extent that federal supremacy strikes down the Trust Act, what exposure is created in us having this ordinance? Other than the fact that ours would ostensibly be struck down if challenged.
Well, I'm not sure I can answer that question. I think we're speculating about how things will turn out if the court decides to invalidate the Trust Act. I don't think it gives us much exposure other than if somebody tries to enforce it and they get hurt, or, I mean, they're probably not gonna file suit against us. Yeah, I think there's a reluctance, I think, or you should be hesitant in putting something out there that will give somebody the misimpression that you have a tool that will stop ICE. And they're tear gassing policemen in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And using what, flashbang devices in Broadview.
Pepper sprayed a 1-year-old today.
Jim, what made you flip? Last week you were in the other.
No.
Yeah, you were.
No,
Yeah, you flipped.
You
You flipped on me.
I was asked to take Brian's work product and make it simplified. I think I did that. I kept the
Right.
essence of Brian's resolution. I think you would have to admit that. But it doesn't make it any more enforceable or effective.
So I remember, I think last week, the comments from you were that this would show that we have done everything that we could.
That's how I understand.
If something happened in Barrington, and that it was a reasonable, this was a reasonable tool to use.
And I think if we did pass it, we just would have to put out on our different venues, social media, to say, this is what it entails, and this is what involves. It's not a cure-all, and it doesn't, give any real teeth, but we make a stand that we're trying to make a stand for a number of our community members that seem to be afraid.
And if we were to have a high-profile incident, I would like to be able to look at the community with a straight face and say, we did everything within our power. And I don't know that without
That's
an
not-
ordinance, even if it is not something that has significant teeth, or teeth at all, that we can say that we did everything in our power without having done anything.
The challenge is we have absolutely no power when it comes to any of this. So that's what it comes down to. We have zero power. When the President of the United States is not abiding by the Constitution of the United States, no matter what we say, do, or want to say, this is like a rogue cowboy out there doing whatever he wants to do. So.
What would we say in a resolution?
I would say that I think that, I think there's been a lot of good discussion tonight. I think we need to come back and have a chance to think through how and what this is about and how we want to move forward. My analogy is I've got mom and dad, I'm the kid sitting at home. I can put a sign on my door, but it has about as much relevance as living at home with a sign on the door that says stay out. That's how I feel. That's kind of like my analogy. And this is federalism, this is states' rights, these are the conjunctions. This board is nonpartisan, and I love that. I love the fact that, within our 4 square miles, we have people, either side of the political parties, that's great. We all work and live together in a community. We have more 501c3s. We care about so many different, is it people? Is it conservation? There's just so much good that comes from this community because we're able to come together. And what I don't want to do is try to do something that has no teeth. It doesn't change where things stand. And so that's, in my opinion, that's the reason why I find it's an empty, it's hollow. And so because it's hollow, I have difficulty. Regardless of my frustrations with different agencies and their tactics and how they go about it, what I have to think about is what, we as the Barrington Board can actually do. And if I want to express myself more forcefully, I go to my state legislatures, I go to my federal legislation. Those are where the powers that have influence on this discussion. We as the village are very bread and butter. This is intersection with the police, but streets, roads, all of the basic things that make this community function and work. That's our focus. That's where the energy of this board, and that's a tough enough job. I mean, we saw in the cow where pensions are going and all that. That's our focus. And my goal and my thought is that is where we put our energy and effort, and the things that are above us are above us. And that's okay. I mean, we can influence individually, but as a board, I don't know what we can do.
Okay, back to my question, Brian, about a resolution, and I disagree with you. We do resolutions stating what we believe in this town all the time, and we do it to build our community. So I think that as this is where everyone lives, this is their home, this is where their families are, this is a very important place. And while we don't have the power to enact some of this, we can set the tone. So Brian, what would you think of a resolution? Frankly, a resolution, we could probably say more if we wanted to. Todd?
I think that would require a great deal of coordination in order to get to a resolution that says more that we can all be comfortable with.
I could agree on anything.
I think that the concern about focusing on the things that we control is valid to a point. Because our facilities are certainly something that we control. And giving staff a code chapter that they can fall back on, so that if they were to ask ICE to leave and ICE says why, they say, chapter 7513, here's the ordinance that says we don't want you here. It's a legislative decision. Gives them a backdrop. And I'm hearing that there's not a lot of liability that ordinance would create. And we have a whole lot of ordinances in the code that some may say are silly. And the next time we meet is Thanksgiving week. That's 2 weeks away. And we all sat here a week ago and talked about the additional information that we would want and all of that. And then the next time we talked about it was today. And so I'm not content to say that we would not pass this ordinance and then we would all come back and talk about it again on the 24th and then talk about it again in December, and we only have one meeting in December, and then talk about it again in January. It feels more urgent than that. So if the ordinance has no teeth, it has no teeth, and that is okay with me.
What about the idea of editing the ordinance, taking the village manager out, taking the citations out, also
No, we don't want to take the village manager.
circulating a draft resolution, and then you have both to look at, vote one or the other on the 24th.
I just sort of think about if some group rolls up to our property, that we don't have something that we have voted on to say, this is how we want you to deal with that. In a sense, even if it's just to say, we don't want you here, you need to leave. If we don't have that, then what are we gonna say when someone does roll up and tries to take over our facilities to do whatever it is they wanna do?
One of the first things that the board did after I was seated was modify the way that we deal with zoning boards of appeal and ARC requests to have the board affirm the decision of those commissions. And we did that because the courts give more deference to legislative decisions if they were to challenge to the courts. I don't know how having a local ordinance versus a state ordinance is different, though I'm not an attorney. But I don't see the risk here.
And no one wants to do a resolution.
It depends on what you define as risk. Risk is having an ordinance that you can't enforce, but people expect it to.
Yeah, I don't think we've talked about liability at all. I mean.
These people asked
we
for a
have-
lot more today.
We've
than-
not talked
than
about
an
liability
ordinance.
at all, and what our liability is, Jim hasn't addressed that at all.
They wanted safety. They wanted us to have the ability to confront ICE. They wanted us to turn our law enforcement facing those guys from ICE and do a standoff to defend the people behind them. They asked for a whole slew of stuff that has nothing to do with this. That, to me, is very scary, because we absolutely, positively, without a doubt, do not have that ability, nor will we ever have the ability. We're going to lose whatever ability we have currently if they repeal the act in Springfield. So that's the scary part of it. And have the ordinance, not have the ordinance. If they showed up tomorrow, Scott's gonna walk out there and say, get off our property. If they choose to, they do. If they don't, there's nothing he's gonna do about it. We're gonna walk away and from an arm's length, try to make sure that they don't hurt and harm the public. But other than that, I mean, we're watching the same TV channels we're all watching the same TV channels to see what's going on. They're not abiding by the US Constitution. So anyways, does anybody have an opinion as to how to proceed? Maybe we start from there. I suppose we could continue to a vote. We could
You have a motion and.
postpone this
second.
to a different,
No, you'd have to have another motion to table it.
I guess I'm just looking for a direction and I can
guess you
figure
could
out.
withdraw that motion, and then we could have a different motion that would go.
Yeah, I'm
in
looking
if
for
there's
the-
a reason
I'm
we
looking
want
for
to
the
table
thought.
it or do anything like that. So I think we're not sunk because we have a motion and a second.
Looking for their direction so that we can
Yeah.
engage the right procedure.
Well, I'm the one who made the second, I think. Did I make the second or did I make the first? I think I did.
You made
Well-
the first.
No, ours
fundraiser.
is to.
How about a suggestion as to what direction you guys want to go, and then we
Our
can,
first
we can
and
back
second
the
was
procedure into
not
that.
table,
Yeah.
To have a discussion.
No,
Is
to
everybody-
make this discussion, we had a motion and a second.
Yes.
To have a discussion.
To have a
And the
discussion.
person who made the motion has to withdraw their motion.
If we decide that's what we
And
want to do.
that's-
If
and
that's what we
I'm
want
the
to
person
do.
that withdrew it, that made the motion,
Oh,
I
made a
am
motion
not
to-
willing to withdraw it.
Point of order.
Wait, Todd, did you make the motion?
I don't know.
You're
We
not
have to
sure
find
yet.
out if he-
Okay.
Our
I can't
clerk is
remember.
discussing it.
That's
Late.
proper, but she can withdraw the motion too. Anyway. Yeah, I think Mike expressed it accurately. We need to decide. if we're
Jim,
gonna do an ordinance.
Can you tell me who presented the motion and who presented the second?
On number 5.
On number 5, well, Sholin and Wondrazek.
Who was first?
Sholin.
And you have to vote on it because I'm not going to withdraw my motion.
Okay.
We're not gonna change it?
Nope. Well, someone else will have to motion to make the change to take that
It's done.
line
We
out.
can't. We
That's just,
have
I'm
to-
sorry, that's how it goes.
Oh, no, that isn't how it goes, Todd.
Yes, it is. If you want to take something out and amend the motion, you have to have someone,
So we'd have to, if you don't like Todd's motion, we'd have to vote no, and then Jen, you could make a different motion if you'd want to make that motion. That's
Well,
the only
I
way to
feel
get
like
around
we haven't
that.
finished our conversation.
Yeah.
Like, we're kind of like.
In the middle.
We're still in the middle of this conversation, so. Well, I know, but it's,
So Jim, without a withdrawal of the motion, we have to continue it, at some point, we have to continue to vote that motion, yes or
You
no?
have to either vote on Todd's motion or you have to continue it.
Okay.
And table it.
Continue.
Table it,
Which
okay,
would be
but
another
we can't table it without him?
Oh, you can table it without.
can table it over
She can
his
make the
objection,
motion
sure.
and some, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So we can make a motion to table Todd's motion.
So many motions.
This sounds
so no
This
one
is-
wants a resolution.
This
Yeah,
is the
what
most
is either an
parliamentary we've probably
ordinance-
ever been.
What, pardon me?
Don't, what, do we not want to, because what's wrong with the resolution? Or is there something
Right,
wrong
that's
with the
my,
resolution?
why, is there?
I don't know what the resolution says.
Right.
Right,
That-
that's
and that's the
all right,
hard
and
part,
then-
is coming
And then
to
you
a
guys will be
resolution.
like, you
resolution
two will be like, no, I don't
So
want
you'll
this
have a
resolution.
draft of the resolution from our office by the end of the week.
Okay,
And then you can
so if we
decide what you
tabled
do.
it, then
So
we
we
could
could
look at
table
it for the next meeting.
And
But-
does Mike is the one that presents a resolution, or is it a legislative, meaning comes from the board?
It, no, it's a resolution, therefore, it would,
It's voted by.
to be passed, it would require a vote of the board.
Vote of the board, but who presents a resolution?
Oh, I'm not sure that matters. I mean, anybody can present an
Okay,
ordinance.
okay, I know, I didn't, I
Mike
thought
can
that was the
present an
purview of the
ordinance,
president.
Staff can present an
No,
ordinance, our
that's
office can present. an
proclamation.
Oh, thank you, that,
Proclamation is the president.
That's what I was thinking.
ordinance. Mike would do a proclamation, but I think,
No, it's a resolution.
I think probably Mike would for a resolution.
Todd's gotta run out for a second.
Additional comments?
I would be in favor of the ordinance as drafted. I would be in favor of the ordinance with the enforcement stricken. I would be in favor of a resolution pending what that verbiage says. But I'm not in favor of doing nothing.
Sorry, what was the last part?
I'm not in favor of doing nothing.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Well, you have to have the resolution written and before you can adopt it. So that's like,
Yeah.
I wasn't meaning within the context of tonight
well,
necessarily,
I
but
never know.
Oh, I would say something though, if we get stalled on a resolution, then I would want the ordinance also on the next meeting because I would approve the ordinance. If we can't come up with a resolution, if no one likes the right verbiage, everyone's fighting, then I personally would want to go ahead and just approve that ordinance, striking out the giving a ticket, so we don't have to give a ticket, but,
would
so
you
at
be
least
in
we have
favor
something.
of approving the ordinance today with the enforcement stricken?
I would personally, I think I'd like to see a resolution because I do appreciate Trustee Duncan's comments about the respect of the law and that we're writing an ordinance. And I'd like an ordinance that's legitimate, and if we cannot do that, and then we write a resolution. But I'm also afraid if we can't get a resolution, I could see us going in circles, not getting a resolution either.
And my concern is just that we've been a week and we're looking at the same ordinance with the same data that we had
Right.
a week ago.
I guess Mike.
I would say the whole appeal of the Safety Act, that's new information.
Sure,
When did that
but
happen?
there's going to be new information every week, every 10 minutes with the current
But that's,
climate.
But that helps inform our decisions too. I mean,
And again, enforcement, again, I think the public, when we say enforcement, thinks of the police department. The enforcement for this has absolutely nothing to do with the police officer. It is 100% in the hands of the village manager's office. And his only recourse when they say no is to write a citation, which probably will never happen because then we're just wasting taxpayers' money to collect a $50 citation that we'll never be able to collect on. They just show up. So that's all. That part of it is. I mean, again, it's. So what do we do?
Well,
So we can go for a vote, we can motion to table this, those seem to be the two choices we have at the moment, or we can continue to discuss.
So just for clarity, if it's a motion to table, bring back a resolution and an ordinance with the enforcement stricken, is it 3?
take
I
the,
think it would just be ordinance with stricken.
Okay.
And
Yes,
resolution.
yes, yes.
Okay.
If you're good with that, I'll withdraw my motion.
To do that, though, we need somebody to make that motion.
Do
Well,
you guys
if-
agree? I don't wanna, I also don't wanna waste staff time.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't want us to go in circles anymore.
If you agree
either.
with that, I will withdraw my motion. How's that?
Can you further explain what you just said?
Me?
Okay, so then there's
You're
no
gonna,
open-
you're gonna withdraw your motion if,
And if she withdraws her second, then we can
And
go
there's
ahead.
no motion at the table and.
If
We
there's
can just
board
motion to
concurrence
table it.
to have
To
the
look at a
ordinance with no
resolution.
enforcement on the 24th, as well as a resolution on the 24th, with the intent of passing one of the two.
Yes.
I agree with
That
that.
seems like the consensus.
Yes.
We'll do that work, and you'll have it by the end of the week, and you can look at it and provide
Okay.
comments from Scott or to our office.
Scott, could we also get, I know there was a request for some ordinances. What others?
I will pull all the
Okay,
ordinances,
great.
and as communities contemplate it, I'll provide whatever information. Like I said, there were only 2 communities that had changed from the last time we discussed, but I'll pull all
Okay,
the
all right,
ordinances. and
only
I'll
2,
provide
okay.
that in
So then we have
Can
to
I-
do your motion, because it's on the agenda.
Motion
well,
to
can I,
table.
can I back up and ask,
Hold on.
clarify, can you clarify what you guys would like us to do? What would you like to do, Todd, because you made this first motion?
Well, which was I just withdrawing my motion, that's all I've been doing.
Okay,
And
so-
if she withdraws her second, is because the consensus of what Jim is going to present, which is an ordinance,
A revised
ordinance and a draft
Okay, so
resolution.
they have withdrawn their motion, so the motion, we don't have a motion on the table, correct?
And then are we required to
Motion to
table
table
the
that.
agenda item, or can we simply not act on it?
You have to,
You
Table.
can do either.
Can I get a motion to table this?
Motion to table this.
Can I get a second?
they have to.
I'll second it.
They have to amend the agenda with a motion.
No, they don't have to act on it, even though it's on there. I mean, they can just defer action.
Well, we're
Oh.
tabling it.
Will we motion to table, right?
We have a motion to table.
In a second.
So we table first or do we
Oh,
call first?
maybe we should take no action though, sorry, now that we're thinking about this. So then it's a fresh item
Okay,
next
okay.
time and we're not stuck in the same item.
That's fine. If that's
And the
what we
fresh
can do, I
item,
wasn't
yeah.
sure if it's on the
Well,
agenda.
So are you
I'm-
withdrawing your motion?
So
to
tax-
table?
yeah, then I'll rescind, then I'll
Yes,
take
I
back my
rescind
motion.
my motion.
I am rescinding.
The only
my-
difference is if there's a motion
my
to table,
second.
it has to come back. If there's no
Whereas
action taken,
If you just,
Well, it should
if
come
we
back.
base our action, our drafting exercise based on your consensus, the consensus is do a resolution and also revise the ordinance. And that's how we leave, that is what we would understand as our instruction as we leave tonight.
But if we were to table it, the original ordinance has to come back.
No.
Okay,
So it's better to table it?
that's what I'm hearing.
I'm not sure.
Who's on first?
You know,
I gotta pull my
we
ass
haven't
up.
done this really before. It doesn't happen very often.
Jim, give us a direction.
Yeah, Jim,
Yeah.
what do we do?
no action.
I say you don't do no
Okay,
action.
okay.
Okay.
I think it's
Thank you.
better to not table it if that's not gonna be the ordinance you
Yeah.
Okay.
ultimately
Okay.
consider anyway.
So the motion is,
Sounds good. Okay. Jim, do you have all that down?
Jim's got it.
Jim, are we good?
The other Jim.
Jim Dillon?
Jim D.
let me just confer with Jim.
If you have any questions, Jim, call me in the morning.
Yeah, we'll go over.
Okay, we have to, we still have a couple things to,
Okay,
something
yeah,
to vote
yeah.
on, right?
Sounds good.
Okay,
Well,
so
thank
we
you.
withdrew the motion
The motion's been withdrawn.
and we're taking this off the agenda.
No, it's not on the agenda. It's
Is
just
that the
Don't worry
agenda?
about
Just
the
defer.
Off the agenda, or on the agenda, no action.
Okay.
All right, I'll need your help with the meeting minutes.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, everybody, for a good debate, and thank you all for sitting through the debate. So, consent agenda, let's see, moving on to item 6, warrants list for November 10th, 2025, in the amount of $3,200,895.21 for expenditures and payroll, all funds. Is there a motion to approve the warrants list?
So
So,
moved.
second.
Fastest motion ever.
Let's do Mr. Priege, trustee Priege. Trustee Shalene. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Lomar,
Yes.
trustee Shalene.
Yes.
Trustee Wondrazek.
Yes.
Trustee Duncan.
Yes.
Trustee Prigi.
Yes.
Trustee Clower.
Yes.
President Moran.
Yes. Thanks. Warrants list has been approved. Comments are on the table. Trustee Lomar.
I think there's been enough comments tonight. I'm passing.
I'm passing too.
No comment.
Thank you to all our veterans. Happy Veterans Day tomorrow.
Trustee Priege.
Thank you to the board for the discussion. I feel like we are a lot closer to something than we were previously, and I appreciate your willingness to engage in that discussion. Thank you to the public for both of the issues, all three of the issues, if you include Jim's two, that were discussed this evening. I want you to know that your voices are heard, as you saw this evening and as you will see later in the zoning process. And with that, I will shut up.
Trustee Clower.
I just want to say thank you to the Walnut Grove community for coming out. I think even though there were some communication issues, whatever, your opinion and your voice matters, and we heard you. So thank you.
So with us passing, you guys got the first dibs, so which
never
doesn't happen.
happens.
Yeah.
There you go.
And I just want to remind everybody that despite the conversation and the challenges and the things that we were working through, we are all very concerned about what's going on and all think it's atrocious behavior. So I want everybody to understand that as we finish our debate. So thank you. We have no need for closed session. Our next meeting will be on November 24th, 2025 at 7:30 p.m. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I want to make sure that nothing that I said
Jennifer.
was intended to be directed at you.